If you had to choose to be either Kodak or Fujifilm, who would you be? How many of you would be Kodak? Raise your hands. 20 of you. How many would be Fujifilm? How many don't want to be either of these companies? Yeah, I wouldn't either. So probably because you know that last year, Kodak, an iconic brand, filed for bankruptcy. It's just like those B companies. Okay, bankruptcy. Fujifilm, same starting point 15 years ago as Kodak. Today, $15 billion market cap. Same starting point. What did they do? I'm going to share with you just kind of how they expanded their focus. So the idea was that they were in film. Well, they've innovated what it means to be in film. So now they have digital cameras. They actually have 3D cameras. They actually have paper that you can print, has 3D images on it. So they've innovated their core business to take things to the next level. So they're still in photography, I guess you could say. But what they've also done is they've pushed out. They've pushed out into adjacencies. What they looked like 15 years ago is not what they look like today. They knew they were good with lenses, so they created television cameras. They got into the media of capturing film through digital tape and media cards. They went into large format printing. Then they realized that they have other capabilities. They have capabilities around the technology itself. So they got into other types of media like heat-sensitive labeling that changes color if there's a contamination around temperature. Other types of chemicals, as well as they got into candy wrappers because they were good with film and wrapping things. So they've really looked at what's their core business and how do they keep expanding their focus and pushing out and exploring and innovating so they can continue to grow that business. So I'm going to share with you some of the other techniques to do that, but that Fujifilm could be like Kodak, but they're not because Kodak had a single bet. They tried to get into printers and ink because they hired the guy from HP who ran the ink business. Fujifilm diversified and really looked at all the different options and all their technology capabilities and looked at how they could push out. So, it kind of all comes down to this. This is kind of a classic example. If you're in the business of making drills, you're in the drill business, what business are you actually in? You're not in the drill business. What are you actually in? The whole business? You're in the whole business, right? Because at the end of the day, your customers are buying your drill because they want a hole. They don't want the drill. It might have to be, could be wired, could be battery powered and not, tied to a cord and all that. But at the end of the day, the value you're providing them is a whole. So the question is, what business are we in? What is the equivalent to that whole that we're in? So I'll share you some examples. So it's in pushing your thinking about looking at things that the IKEA catalog that you don't think, how does this relate to us? And tying it back in, broadening your focus, and then linking it back in. And there may or may not be ideas here, but the idea is that if you're constantly doing that, as you look at the world, you're going to come up with some cool stuff that probably other people who aren't doing that, like your competition, won't. So that's expanding your focus.